What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in the Khaliis Take. You know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell just so you can get the newest and the bonus content first. But hey, let's just go ahead and jump right in. There's been reports released lately about Marcus Morris and the possibility of him being traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. And on top of that, with the reports being released, Marcus Morris himself puts a like on the tweet about that in regards to a possible trade to the Philadelphia 76ers. And with that being said, you have to wonder, are the Clippers really going to pull the trigger? And you have to wonder also, is Marcus Morris really ready to move on from the Clippers? I mean, really, he's one of those pieces I would say that is more expendable now than ever. Because now that Robert Covington's there, you got Norman Powell and the emergence of Terrence Mann. And of course, Luke Kennard playing the way he did last year. You can honestly say the Clippers might be fine without him. I mean, they might actually, hypothetically, if they let him go, they definitely would open up their cap space. But I mean, of course, it would more likely be a trade situation with the Philadelphia 76ers. And if that's the case, then the reports are not really clear about who they would possibly trade him for, but regardless of who they would trade him for, they would get back somebody of the likes of maybe, I'm not sure, maybe a Tobias Harris or somebody like that, and maybe a couple other pieces. But at the same time, really, in my mind, it wouldn't be bad in all aspects, even though Marcus Morris has been, part of the culture here in LA for a while. But at the same time, he's also been one of the disappointments in the culture as well, because of his inconsistency. And when you think about Marcus Morris and what he brings to a team, he does bring toughness. He does bring edge. And, Philadelphia can definitely use a little bit more of that because they miss Jimmy Butler being there. And that's what he brought to the team. And on top of that, not saying he doesn't bring that to the Clippers, but at the same time, the Clippers really, their roster from top to bottom, even without him, would still flourish. And honestly, it would open up more room for them to be able to, implement another player if they choose to get one, like a point guard in there, maybe another big man. They would have maybe some extra money or possibly just more extra opportunity. Because, if the Clippers get anybody else on their team, you have to ask yourself, how many minutes are they going to get on the floor with all the talent that they have all the way around? So, I mean, if the Clippers did hypothetically let him go and made a trade and just got some few pieces and a pick or a couple of picks here and there, it will open up more room of opportunity for whoever they decide to go after with maybe not a bigger name, but let's say they went after a point guard, like a Tyus Jones or a Mike Conley. They'll get more minutes per game because without Marcus Morris being there, like I said, it opened up more room to get more minutes on the floor and be more valuable to the team rather than having somebody sit on the sideline and Ty Lue having to make a decision. Oh, maybe I should play Marcus Morris more because he's been here longer and all this other type stuff. I mean, sometimes little things like that really go a long way because if the Clippers keep getting more and more talent, how are they going to have all this talent and the time to get all them on the floor to jail? You don't have that many minutes, to go around. You see what I'm saying? So if they get rid of Marcus Morris, it'll open up more room for other opportunity is what I'm saying. And I think that's something that the Clippers are deeply looking into. And Marcus Morris liking the tweet of the possibility of going to the 76ers, well, I mean, that might actually make their decision a little bit easier than what it would have been if maybe he didn't like the tweet. Who knows? But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they let Marcus Morris go. Like I said, the inconsistency of his game to me is not worth the money they paid him, and for a guy getting $65 million for the 3 or 4 year contract that he had, he's got to be more productive than that to me, especially when you were looked at as the third best player on the team. And really that got stripped away from you by Reggie Jackson because Reggie Jackson turned into the third best player that the Clippers needed, because you were just really inconsistent. And that's the thing, like Reggie Jackson was contemplating not even playing basketball or ever coming back to the NBA or retiring at one point. And you were the third leading scorer. You were supposed to be the third leading scorer on the team and you haven't lived up to it. And this guy that took your role, now you're the fourth leading scorer. And I feel like, Marcus Morris definitely, probably thinks in his mind, I would like to be more of a leader when it comes to scoring. I would like to have more of a focal point when it comes to scoring. And I definitely know that he would, but the inconsistency that he has up and down, is just not good enough. And I felt like that was something that held the Clippers back from possibly winning the championship as well. You see what I'm saying? So, because even when Kawhi Leonard went down last year, year before last, however you want to look at it, based on seasons, when he went down in the playoffs last year, if they had a consistent Marcus Morris who can go out there and give them consistent points and play consistent on defense the way in the way he's paid to do, maybe they actually get past the Phoenix Suns, because they still had Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley shut Devin Booker down. So that limited their offense in regards to, how they were able to be effective in that series, and they still found a way to win. I do blame, Paul George missing that free throw in game 2. I think they could have tied the series 1-1, but I mean, that's one play. You can go back to one or two plays or several plays in the series, but it doesn't really matter. But my point is, if Marcus Morris was a little bit more consistent overall as a player, I still think the Clippers go further, or the Clippers still put themselves in better position to do better as a team. Maybe the bubble wouldn't have happened. Maybe they would have got further than the Suns last year. I mean, you could point at a lot of things, but I mean, my thing is, like I said, I've always liked Marcus Morris in regards to the type of edge that he has to his game and the way he plays. But he could be dirty at times. He could do dirty plays at times and cost himself and cause his team's games too, because he's been kicked out of games before for dirty play, things like that. And see, little things like that add up when you're trying to win championships and when you're trying to put yourself in better position to be an overall good team. So, like I said, his inconsistency and some of his ways on his defense, some of his defensive ways definitely rub some people the wrong way, I believe. And I definitely think that the Clippers overall is looking at him as a piece where, he's valuable, but he's not that valuable. He's not going to be the end all be all for us, because, like I said, having Robert Covington, you can give Robert Covington his minutes, and Robert Covington can do the same amount of things, except he could do it a little bit better in regards to not not getting kicked out of games, not getting too many technical fouls, and he plays just as good as defense, and really he might play better defense than Marcus Morris, if you ask me. So that's what I'm saying. When you look at those players that they have, it's really made him more expendable when you think about it. Now, like I said, when they didn't have Covington and Norman Powell, then the situation looks different. But now that you have them, and I'm pretty sure Marcus Morris knows it too, with those type of players being there, especially a Robert Covington, he really can take all of Marcus Morris' minutes, honestly, because, like I said, he can knock down threes. He can't, maybe shoot the higher percentage than Marcus Morris, but if you give him Marcus Morris minutes, he can give you the same amount of production with less money and less of a contract. So, I mean, the Clippers are looking at that. And that's the reason why I feel like Marcus Morris is looking at the bigger picture too. This is the reason why I said, I don't know if he's really ready to leave LA, but I mean, I think that he's not all against it because he sees the writing on the wall of the situation, because obviously it's quite clear. Robert Covington, Norman Powell, and the way Terrence Mann is starting to play, emerging with his defense, and the way he can, his offense is starting to come together a little bit more. What would you need Marcus Morris for? I mean, he would just be an extra added piece on the bench that would be sitting there, that'll be taking up space, the same way they thought about Serge Ibaka, even though I thought they should have kept Serge Ibaka, but still, maybe they just didn't see the player in him that he thought he was, or that he think he is. So, like I said, it's just one of those situations that we have to see how it pans out. But I'm ready to see what happens in the offseason for him and for the Clippers and see what moves they make. But hey, that's my take on everything. Leave any comments in the comment section. As always, check out my other videos. And hey, Khaliis out.